Commander Vexka's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession as he stared at the human female chained to the interrogation chair. Her lips curved upward in what their xenobiologists had identified as a smile, though the expression made no logical sense given her circumstances. Blood trickled from a cut above her left eyebrow. Her uniform was torn in 3 places, and she'd been without food for 2 rotations. Yet there she sat, grinning like she'd just won the Galactic Lottery. "Explain this facial contortion, human." Vexka clicked his mandibles together, a sound that had made countless prisoners soil themselves. "You are captured. Your vessel is destroyed. Your crew is dead. Why do you display signs of amusement?" The woman, who'd identified herself only as Captain Elena Torres, tilted her head slightly. Her brown eyes sparkled with something that made Vexka's chitinous skin crawl. "Oh, that's simple, Bugface. I'm smiling, because you're teaching my war stories." Vexka's translator implant whirred, processing the statement 3 times before determining it had heard correctly. "Your war stories. Elaborate." Maya's grin widened, revealing those unsettling white teeth humans were so proud of. "See? Every time you Kethvar think you've got us figured out, every time you think you know how we tick, you end up learning something new. And that something new? Well, it becomes a lesson for the next batch of your kind who decide to mess with humanity." The commander's secondary arms folded behind his carapace, while his primary hands remained clasped in front. He'd interrogated 17 different species over his career span of 43 cycles. None had ever spoken to him with such casual disrespect. The humans were proving to be far more troublesome than initial intelligence had suggested. "You speak as though your species will survive this encounter," Vexka said, his voice carrying the mechanical undertone that his kind used to convey authority. "Your home world burns. Your colonies are glass. Your fleets scatter like frightened prey animals before our might." Maya actually laughed. Not the broken, hysterical laughter of the defeated, but genuine amusement. "Oh, honey, you really don't get it, do you? That's what makes this so damn entertaining." Vexka leaned forward, his massive frame casting shadows across the metal table between them. "Enlighten me, meat sack." "Gladly." Maya shifted in her restraints, somehow managing to look comfortable despite the energy shackles that should have been causing excruciating pain. "You see, Vexka, that is your name, right? Your little invasion force here just taught humanity something very important. You taught us that we're not alone in this universe. You taught us that there are things out here that want to hurt us. And most importantly," her voice dropped to a whisper that somehow seemed more threatening than any scream, "you taught us exactly how your technology works." The commander's mandibles clicked nervously. "Impossible. Our systems are encrypted with quantum-level security protocols that would take your primitive computers millennia to decode." Maya's smile turned predatory. "Who said anything about decoding?" "We're humans, sweetie. We don't break the lock when we can steal the whole damn door." Before Vexka could process that statement fully, the interrogation chamber's lights flickered. Once, twice. Then they went out completely, plunging the room into absolute darkness. Emergency power kicked in 3 seconds later, bathing everything in a sickly red glow that made Maya's blood-stained face look demonic. "What?" Vexka began, but Maya cut him off. "Oh, that? That would be Lieutenant Jake Morrison, scrappy kid from New Detroit. Used to work construction before the war started. Turns out, when you're really motivated, it's amazing how quickly you can learn to rewire alien power systems." An explosion echoed through the ship's hull, followed by another, then a third. Vexca's comm unit crackled to life with panicked reports from his subordinates. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Life support failing in the forward sections. Engineering was requesting immediate assistance. Maya nodded approvingly. And that beautiful symphony? That's Sergeant Lisa Park. Before all this started, she taught middle school chemistry. Sweet lady, really. Makes the best apple pie you've ever tasted. She's also got a talent for turning your own ammunition against you. Vexca activated his personal shield generator and drew his plasma rifle in one fluid motion. The weapon hummed to life, its barrel glowing with contained energy. Your friends will die screaming, as will you. Oh, I'm sure they'll die, Maya agreed cheerfully. Humans are surprisingly good at that. But screaming? Nah. We tend to go out with a bang rather than a whimper. Another series of explosions rocked the ship, this time much closer. The interrogation chamber's door began to glow around its edges as something extremely hot cut through the reinforced metal. Sparks showered to the floor, hissing against the deck plates. That'll be Corporal Tommy Kim, Maya continued conversationally, as if they were discussing the weather rather than a rapidly escalating ship-to-ship battle. Kid's only 19. Can you believe that? Before the recruitment drive, he was studying to be a chef. Now he's got a real talent for making things very hot, very quickly. The door collapsed inward with a thunderous crash, and through the smoking hole stepped a figure in a battered human combat suit. The armor was scorched, dented, and missing its left arm entirely. But the person inside moved with deadly purpose. They carried what appeared to be a Kethvar heavy plasma cannon, except it had been modified with components that definitely weren't standard issue. Captain Torres, the figure's voice came through external speakers, distorted but unmistakably female. Sorry, I'm late. Had to stop by their armory first. No worries, Park, Maya replied, her restraints suddenly falling away as if they'd never been locked in the first place. I was just explaining to Commander Vexca here how educational this whole experience has been. Vexca raised his weapon, targeting the newcomer, but hesitated when he noticed something that made his blood run cold. The human's modified plasma cannon wasn't just carrying Kethvar components. It was built around a Kethvar power core, one that should have been impossible to remove without triggering a catastrophic overload. How did you? He began. Oh, that's the really fun part, Maya said, standing and stretching as if she'd just gotten up from a comfortable nap rather than an interrogation chair. See? Your people are really, really good at building weapons. Efficient, reliable, self-contained. The problem is, you build them too well. Sergeant Park hefted the hybrid weapon, and Vexca could see that she'd somehow bypassed every safety protocol his species had spent generations perfecting. The power readings on his scanner were climbing into the red zone, well beyond what should have been survivable for any organic being to handle. When you build something that's completely self-contained, Maya continued, it means all the parts work together really nicely. But it also means that if someone figures out how to make those parts work for them instead of you, well, let's just say the results are spectacular. The ship shuddered again, and this time Vexca could hear the distinctive whine of his own people's weapons firing. But they were firing inward, at something inside the ship, rather than at external targets. His tactical display showed chaos on every deck, boarding parties that shouldn't have been able to get through their shields, sabotage operations that shouldn't have been possible with primitive human technology. This is impossible, he hissed. Our intelligence reports indicated that your species had barely achieved faster-than-light travel. You should be centuries behind our technological development. Maya walked over to Park and accepted a sidearm that was clearly Kethvar in origin, but had been extensively modified. See? That's where you made your first mistake, Commander. You assumed that technological development was the same as intelligence. We might not have your fancy toys, but we've got something you apparently don't. And what is that? Maya's smile returned, broader than ever. Imagination. The lights went out again, but this time they stayed out. Emergency power failed to kick in. Life support systems fell silent. Even Vexca's personal equipment began to flicker and fail, as if something was systematically draining power from every system on the ship. In the darkness, Maya's voice carried clearly. You see, Vexca, your people have been spacefaring for what, 3,000 years? You've got it all figured out. Efficient systems, standardized protocols. Everything works exactly the way it's supposed to work, every single time. A new voice joined the conversation from somewhere in the darkness. Young, male, with an accent Vexca didn't recognize. The problem with everything working exactly the way it's supposed to is that you forget how to improvise. Morrison, I presume, Maya said warmly. How's our timeline looking? Pretty good, Captain. Engineering's been completely rewired. Life support's on our schedule now instead of theirs. And the best part? Every system they've got is now broadcasting directly to our people back home. Vexca's mandibles clicked frantically as he processed this information. Broadcasting? Impossible. Our communication arrays are encrypted with double quotes. Quantum-level security protocols. Yeah, you mentioned that. A fourth voice interrupted. This one was higher-pitched, younger. Thing is, we're not trying to break your encryption. We're just using your own systems to talk to each other. Kim? Maya asked. Present and accounted for, ma'am. And might I add, their power distribution network is a thing of beauty. Really elegant design. It's also incredibly easy to redirect once you figure out the basic principles. Emergency lighting finally flickered back on, revealing that the interrogation chamber now contained 4 humans instead of 2. They'd somehow managed to move through a heavily fortified warship, neutralize its defenses, and rewrite its core systems without triggering any of the dozens of security measures that should have made such an operation impossible. Vexca looked from one human face to another. Morrison was young, as Maya had said, with the kind of practical scars that came from manual labor. Park was older, middle-aged, with laugh lines around her eyes that somehow made her current occupation of armed insurgency seem even more unsettling. Kim was barely more than a hatchling by Kethvar standards, but he carried himself with the confidence of someone who'd figured out how to turn the universe into his personal playground. And Maya? Maya was still smiling. You cannot hope to escape, Vexca said, though his voice lacked the conviction it had carried earlier. This ship contains over 3,000 crew members. You are 4. Oh, we're not trying to escape, Maya said, checking the charge on her appropriated weapon. We're trying to teach. Teach what? Well, that's the beautiful part, Morrison said, consulting a device that appeared to be cobbled together from Kethvar components and human ingenuity. See? Every system on this ship is now transmitting detailed technical specifications back to Earth. Power generation, weapon systems, shield technology, faster-than-light drives, everything. Park nodded approvingly. And not just the specifications. Full operational parameters, maintenance schedules, even the little quirks and shortcuts your engineers use to keep everything running smoothly. Kim grinned, and Vexca realized that human expressions of joy were far more terrifying than their expressions of anger. Plus, We've been documenting all your tactical doctrines, fleet formations, communication protocols, standard operating procedures for boarding operations, really comprehensive stuff. Maya's smile was now so wide it seemed to split her face in half. And the best part? We've been doing this on 17 different ships over the past 6 months. Every time you capture one of us, every time you think you're interrogating a prisoner, you're actually attending a masterclass in human adaptive engineering. Vexca's weapon fell from suddenly nerveless fingers. 17 ships? 18, if you count this one, Maya corrected. And here's the really fun part, Commander. Every single time, your people ask the same question. They want to know why we're smiling, why we seem so cheerful about being captured, why we don't seem appropriately terrified of superior alien technology. The ship's intercom system crackled to life, but instead of Kethvar voices, it carried human communications. Status reports from teams throughout the vessel. Technical analyses being transmitted in real time. And underneath it all, something that made Vexca's ichor run cold. Laughter. The answer, Maya said, walking toward the ruined door, is because every time you capture us, every time you try to break us, every time you demonstrate your technological superiority, you're giving us homework assignments. Morrison paused at the threshold and looked back at the stunned Kethvar commander. And humans, Commander Vexca, are really, really good students. The 4 humans disappeared into the corridor, leaving Vexca alone with his failing equipment and the growing realization that his species had made a critical error. They'd assumed that capturing humans would provide intelligence about human capabilities. Instead, they'd been providing humans with intelligence about Kethvar capabilities. And judging by the sounds coming through the ship's communication system, the humans had been very thorough students indeed. Vexca slowly sank into the chair Maya had recently vacated, his 4 eyes focusing on nothing in particular as he contemplated the magnitude of what had just occurred. The humans hadn't been captured at all. They'd been enrolling in an advanced course in xenotechnology, with the Kethvar as their unwitting instructors. And based on Maya Torres's smile, they were about to graduate with honors. Admiral Thex Nor of the Kethvar Grand Fleet received the emergency transmission while reviewing tactical reports in his command center aboard the flagship Inevitable Victory. The message came through on 17 different channels simultaneously, all carrying the same impossible information: complete technical specifications for every major Kethvar weapons system, shield generator, and propulsion unit currently in service. His communications officer, a nervous young female named Kixtel, looked up from her station with all 4 eyes wide with panic. "Admiral, sir, the data appears to be broadcasting from our own ships. Internal systems are transmitting classified information across subspace frequencies." "Show me," Thex Nor commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who'd never encountered a problem he couldn't solve with superior firepower. The holographic display activated, showing a 3-dimensional map of the local star system. Red dots indicated Kethvar vessels, while blue dots showed known human positions. But what made Thex Nor's mandibles click in confusion were the green data streams flowing from red dots to locations far beyond the battle zone. "These transmissions," he said slowly, "they're going to the human home system?" "Not just the home system, sir," Kixtel replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "They're being broadcast to every human colony, every research station, every military installation we've identified in their space. And," she hesitated, "speak." "Sir, the transmissions aren't just technical data. They're complete operational manuals, engineering specifications, tactical doctrines, even our fleet communication codes. Thexnor studied the display more carefully, his mind racing through implications that grew more disturbing with each passing moment. How long have these transmissions been active? According to system logs, sir, 6 months, beginning with the first human prisoner taken aboard the merciless Blade. The Admiral's primary arms folded behind his carapace, while his secondary hands worked frantically at his command console. 6 months of classified information flowing freely to human space. Technical secrets that had taken the Kethvar centuries to develop, now apparently in the hands of a species they'd considered technologically primitive. "Get me Commander Vex-Ka immediately," he ordered. The communication link established within seconds, revealing Vex-Ka's image on the display. The commander looked shaken, his usual composed demeanor replaced by something approaching shock. "Admiral," Vex-Ka began, "I must report a complete security breach. The human prisoners aboard my vessel were never actually prisoners at all. They were students." "Explain." "They've been using our interrogation sessions as opportunities to study our technology. Every system scan, every equipment demonstration we used to intimidate them, every protocol we followed. They were recording everything and transmitting it back to their people." Thexnor felt his ichor run cold. "How many ships are affected?" "All of them, sir. Every vessel that has taken human captives has been compromised. They've turned our standard procedures against us." Before Thexnor could respond, another voice joined the communication channel. A human voice, speaking perfect Kethvar with only the slightest accent. "Good evening, Admiral Thexnor. My name is Dr. Elena Vasquez, and I wanted to, personally, thank you for the most comprehensive technical education in galactic history." Kixtel frantically worked her controls, trying to trace the source of the unauthorized transmission. "Sir, the signal is coming from everywhere. Every ship in the fleet is simultaneously broadcasting this communication." "Dr. Vasquez," Thexnor said carefully, "you are addressing the Admiral of the Kethvar Grand Fleet without authorization. Explain how you have accessed our communication systems." The human woman's laugh carried clearly through the speakers. "Oh, that's simple, Admiral. Your own people taught us how to do it. Every time you intercepted one of our transmissions, every time you demonstrated your superior communication technology to intimidate our prisoners, you were actually giving us detailed instructions on how your systems work." Thexnor looked at his tactical display again, and for the first time in his 40-year military career, he felt genuine uncertainty. "What do you want?" "Want? Admiral, we don't want anything. We already have everything we need. Your people have been incredibly thorough teachers. Fleet formations, weapon capabilities, shield frequencies, engine specifications. It's all been very educational." Another voice joined the conversation, this one younger and carrying a distinctly different accent. "Dr. Vasquez, I'm showing full integration of the captured technical data. All Earth defense platforms are now online, with upgraded systems based on Kethvar designs." "Excellent work, Doctor." Patterson. "Admiral, I'd like you to meet my colleague from the Mars Engineering Consortium. Brilliant young woman. She's spent the last 6 months reverse engineering your faster-than-light drive technology." Thexnor's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Impossible. Our FTL systems are protected by quantum encryption that would take your computers millions of years to decode." A third voice, older and carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed, entered the conversation. "Admiral, this is General Marcus Webb, Earth Defense Command. We didn't decode anything. We just built better versions using the detailed specifications your own people provided during their interrogations." I don't understand, Thexnor said, though he was beginning to suspect that he understood all too well. It's really quite simple, Doctor, Vasquez explained patiently. Your species has spent centuries perfecting your technology. But you've also spent centuries fighting the same kinds of enemies, other spacefaring civilizations with similar technological development paths, similar strategic thinking, similar tactical doctrines. General Webb's voice carried grim satisfaction. You've never fought humans before, Admiral, and humans have a particular talent for adaptive warfare. We don't just learn to use your weapons against you. We learn to build better weapons using your own designs as starting points. Kixtel looked up from her station, her expression one of growing horror. Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout human space. Power generation levels are climbing rapidly across all their systems. Show me, Thexnor ordered. The tactical display shifted to show human space in detail. What Thexnor saw made his blood turn to ice. Every human world, every station, every major installation was showing energy readings that far exceeded their previous capabilities. But these weren't just upgraded systems. These were hybrid technologies that combined Kethvar engineering principles with human innovation in ways that shouldn't have been possible. How? He whispered. Dr. Patterson's voice carried obvious pride. Humans are really good at taking existing technology and making it work better. Your power generation systems are incredibly efficient, Admiral. But they're designed for Kethvar biology and Kethvar thinking patterns. When you adapt them for human psychology and human engineering principles, the results are quite impressive, Doctor, Vasquez added. We've managed to increase output efficiency by approximately 300%, while reducing resource requirements by half. Thexnor stared at the display showing human worlds blazing with energy signatures that rivaled Kethvar industrial planets. This is impossible. You've had our technology for only 6 months. It should take decades to achieve this level of integration. General Webb chuckled. Admiral, you're still thinking like a Kethvar. Your people develop technology systematically, step by step, following established protocols. Humans don't work that way. When we get our hands on new technology, we don't just study it. We tear it apart, figure out how it works, then rebuild it better. And faster, Dr. Patterson added. Much, much faster. Another alarm sounded on Thexnor's bridge, and his weapons officer looked up with an expression of complete bewilderment. Admiral, I'm detecting new contacts on the edge of the system, vessels of unknown configuration, but they're broadcasting Kethvar identification codes. Explain. Sir, they appear to be human ships, but they're using our own communication protocols and shield frequencies. Our targeting systems are identifying them as friendly contacts. Dr. Vasquez's voice carried obvious amusement. Oh, that would be our new fleet arriving. I hope you don't mind, Admiral, but we borrowed your ship recognition systems. Very elegant design, by the way. We've made a few improvements. The tactical display updated, showing dozens of vessels entering the system. They were clearly of human construction, but their energy signatures and movement patterns were unmistakably based on Kethvar technology. Worse, they were approaching using standard Kethvar fleet formations, making them nearly impossible to target without violating basic tactical protocols. This is warfare through deception, Thexnor said, his voice carrying both admiration and horror. This is warfare through education, General Webb corrected. Every interrogation you conducted, every demonstration of superior technology you used to intimidate our people, every tactical manual you consulted to plan your attacks, all of it became part of our curriculum. Dr. Vasquez continued the explanation. "And now we're ready for our final examination, Admiral. 6 months of studying your technology, your tactics, your strategies. 6 months of your own people teaching us exactly how to defeat you." The new human fleet had completed its approach and now surrounded the Kethvar force completely. But instead of attacking, they simply waited, their weapons powered, but not targeted. "You could destroy us," Thexnor observed. "We could," General Webb agreed. "Your own weapons, powered by improved versions of your own technology, operated by people who spent 6 months learning every detail of your defensive capabilities. It would be over very quickly." "But we're not going to," Dr. Vasquez said, "because that would be wasteful. And humans hate waste." Thexnor found himself almost afraid to ask, "What do you propose?" "Simple," Dr. Patterson replied. "You're going to continue teaching us, but this time it's going to be voluntary." The Admiral's mandibles clicked in confusion. "I don't understand." Dr. Vasquez's voice carried a warmth that somehow made her words more unsettling than any threat. "Admiral, your people have been spacefaring for 3,000 years. You've developed technologies and techniques that we couldn't have imagined 6 months ago. That represents an enormous wealth of knowledge. Knowledge that could benefit both our species," General Webb added, "if we work together instead of fighting each other." "You're proposing an alliance?" Thexnor asked, hardly believing what he was hearing. "We're proposing a partnership, Doctor," Patterson corrected. "Kethvar technological sophistication combined with human adaptability and innovation. Think of what we could accomplish together." Thexnor looked at his tactical display, showing human ships that had been built in 6 months, but incorporated centuries of Kethvar development. Ships that were simultaneously familiar and completely alien. Recognizable, yet somehow improved beyond what should have been possible. "And if we refuse?" Dr. Vasquez's voice remained warm, but carried an undertone that made Thexnor's spine tingle. "Then we'll continue our education without your cooperation. We've already learned enough to defend ourselves quite effectively. Given another few months of study, we'll probably learn enough to take this educational program to other species." The implication hit Thexnor like a plasma bolt to the thorax. Humans with Kethvar technology, spreading throughout the galaxy, turning every conflict into a learning opportunity, teaching other species to resist established powers, sharing advanced technology with anyone willing to learn. "That would destabilize the entire galactic political structure," he said. "Probably," General Webb agreed cheerfully. "But it would also eliminate the kind of thinking that led to you attacking us in the first place. Hard to maintain galactic empires when everyone has access to the same level of technology." Thexnor found himself in a position he'd never experienced before. Completely outmaneuvered by an enemy who'd turned his own strengths into weapons against him. The humans had done more than steal Kethvar technology. They'd weaponized the very concept of education itself. "What are your terms?" he asked finally. "Full technological exchange," Dr. Vasquez replied immediately. "Complete sharing of scientific knowledge, joint research projects, and, most importantly, an end to the kind of thinking that assumes one species is inherently superior to another. Because, Admiral," Dr. Patterson added, "the next species you decide to educate through conquest might be even faster learners than we were." Thexnor looked around his command center, seeing his crew's faces reflecting his own realization. They'd started this war to demonstrate Kethvar superiority. Instead, they'd created the most comprehensive technology transfer in galactic history. And the humans were still smiling. "I accept your terms," he said quietly. Dr. Vasquez's voice carried genuine warmth now. "Excellent, Admiral. I think you'll find that voluntary education is much more effective than the involuntary kind. And much more enjoyable for everyone involved," General Webb added. As the communication ended and joint operation protocols began downloading to every Kethvar ship simultaneously, Thexnor realized that the humans had taught him something important about warfare. Sometimes the most decisive victory comes not from destroying your enemy, but from making them your teacher. And judging by the technical specifications now flowing between human and Kethvar vessels, both species were about to learn things that neither could have discovered alone. The war was over. The real education was just beginning.